I met Alex on a Tuesday because of course the universe schedules life crises midweek. He told me, with the solemnity of someone confessing to a tiny crime, that he should read more. I promised him then and there we'd stop shouting and start becoming. We all say, I should, because it's like emotional flossing, noble thought, zero action. Alex nodded as if someone had solved a riddle for him, but then immediately suggested listening to a podcast instead of opening a book. I laughed, told him podcasts count as words, but reader identity requires more than passive audio snacks. Habit failure is rarely moral. It's structural. Your life is designed to vote against you, and Alex's life was loudly voting Netflix. He blamed time, work, and a mysterious demon called tiredness that shows up at 9 p.m. sharp. I told him to stop arguing with his environment and start designing it instead. Here's the secret sauce. Identity-based habits shift the question from what do I want to do to who do I want to become. Alex's eyes lit up as if I offered him a treasure map to a quieter, more literate island. I warned him it wasn't magic, just smarter psychology plus a few tricks I stole from behavioral science. I told Alex, stop promising and start proving. Identity shifts by evidence, tiny wins that say, I am a reader, louder than any grand resolution. He immediately suggested printing a certificate, which made me laugh. Evidence can be a receipt, a sticky note, or one single page read at breakfast. We started with something borderline ridiculous, read one page a day. Alex raised an eyebrow like I'd asked him to run a marathon in flip-flops. I told him if he can manage one page, his brain gets the memo. Oh, we're readers now. And momentum does the heavy lifting. Between you and me, I gave Alex a pep talk that included a dad joke and a very serious metaphor about squirrels. He promised to try it for a week, mostly to humor me, and maybe because the squirrel metaphor was weirdly motivating. I told him to journal the results. Humans love charts almost as much as cats love boxes. We made a pact, not a vow, realistic and kind to the future version of Alex who might forget things on purpose. I told him identity is reinforced by repetition, not passion alone. He swore he'd be honest if he slipped, then immediately tripped over a rug, which I accepted as dramatic foreshadowing. Labels are mental uniforms. You wear them and your behavior follows, like misplaced socks finally finding a drawer. I explained to Alex that when he introduces himself as a reader, even small decisions align with that identity. He practiced once in the mirror and unfortunately added a dramatic bow, which I gently discouraged. We talked about two kinds of habits: results-based, finish a book, and identity-based, be the kind of person who reads. Alex admitted he had a cupboard full of finish later ambitions. I told him to start by acting like the kind of person who makes reading visible and regular. Affirmations that stick are tiny proofs, not loud speeches. I coached Alex to say, I'm a reader, after he reads even one sentence, so his brain gets a positive feedback loop. He tried it once after opening a book, then whispered it to his cat, who offered no comment. We made a silly but effective plan to collect evidence, a reading receipt jar. Alex laughed until he realized how satisfying a stack of book slips looks over time. I reminded him to celebrate small stacks. Celebrating isn't bragging, it's reinforcement with confetti you can feel. Instead of, how many pages did I read? We asked, am I becoming a reader? Which feels philosophical but is actually practical. Alex liked this until he used it as an excuse to read comic book blurbs as research. I told him research counts if the aim is reading, not procrastination by illustration. One trick: go public with tiny commitments. Alex told one friend he'd read 10 pages this week and immediately felt accountable, like someone had put his reading on a scoreboard. I warned him to pick a friend who won't smuggle him snacks as bribery for skipping chapters. We created a micro-ritual for reading starts: brew a tiny cup of tea, open the book, and read a page. Alex called it the ceremonial sip, which made me question his anthropology degree. Do not worry, he doesn't have one. Rituals reduce friction and give your brain a recognizable beginning. After a week of tiny rituals, I asked Alex a simple question. Do you believe you are a reader yet? He shrugged, then smiled, maybe, which in habit language is a victory. Identity shifts are messy and gradual. The maybe is the sound of new habits settling in like sensible furniture. I introduced the 2-minute rule. Make any new habit take less than 2 minutes to start. Alex tried to outsmart me by reading a 2-minute primer on procrastination, which I politely classified as starting. Start small, because momentum loves tiny things. We wrote if-then plans. If I finish breakfast, then I will read 1 page. Alex loved the structure because it sounded like a legal clause without the court fees. I told him to make these plans specific and context-based for reliability. Habit stacking is the lazy genius trick. Attach reading to a routine you already have. Alex stacked reading after brushing his teeth, which made for a comedic toothbrush and book choreography, but it worked. I recommended he pick anchors that happen reliably, not just when motivation peaks. We defined the environment, which book, where to sit, what time, how long. Alex insisted on maybe as an exact time, which I vetoed in favor of after dinner, a predictable anchor. Clarity removes decision fatigue, which is empathy for your future self. We picked genres Alex actually enjoyed, no martyrdom allowed. He chose a mix, short essays, light novels, and a non-fiction book that didn't sound like it belonged exclusively in a library archaeologist's snack drawer. Passion helps, but curiosity survives where passion abandons ship. We moved the book into prime real estate, his handbag, bedside, and the coffee table. Alex compared it to strategic furniture placement, then rearranged his cushions as if staging a reading altar. Accessibility beats willpower every time, and Alex learned that cushions are negotiable allies. 1 page per day became a Trojan horse for longer sessions. Once Alex started, he often read more because momentum is contagious. He joked that his page evolved into chapters like a crab evolving a nicer shell, which I filed under creative metaphors. Slow starts compound into surprising habits. We made missing a day trivial. No guilt, just restart. Alex feared missing a day would mean moral failure, which I corrected with a shrug and a try again tomorrow. Lowering the stakes keeps identity intact without perfectionism, gatekeeping your hobbies. A reading spot doesn't need a velvet armchair, just a place that your body recognizes as reading mode. I watched Alex test 7 spots and a dog bed before settling on a small armchair near a window. He declared it comfy enough, which is reading diplomacy for "this will do." Good lighting saves you from squinting and invented excuses like, "My eyes are tired from staring at spreadsheets." I recommended a warm lamp and natural light if possible. Alex bought a lamp that he later pretended was a reading lighthouse, which I allowed because it glowed encouragingly. We put phones on Do Not Disturb and out of sight, out of chaotic temptation. Alex hid his phone in a weird drawer and then forgot it for 3 days, which I called overcommitment avoidance. Removing friction is cleaner than relying on heroic willpower. Make your reading place comfortable, but not so comfortable you nod off mid-sentence unless naps are part of your plan. Alex tested the comfort threshold and discovered an elegant balance between cozy and upright. Comfort makes reading sustainable long-term. Visibility nudges action. Place books where you can see them. Alex arranged a mini stack by his chair and suddenly noticed them like tiny, patient cheerleaders. I told him exposure works. Don't feel them like secret agents. Let them wave the banner. We assembled a kit: bookmark, water, lamp, and a tiny notebook for notes. Alex treated this like a survival kit, but for ideas, which made me proud and slightly relieved. A kit reduces friction. You're already prepared, like a tiny intellectual Boy Scout. Some people need silence. Others need a playlist. I suggested ambient or instrumental tracks that signal the brain it's reading time, and Alex curated a list called Serious Reading. but chill. Music as cue is like a tiny trumpet calling your focus to attention subtle and effective. Clutter is free chaos. Clear surfaces, clear minds. Alex cleared his coffee table and found, astonishingly, 3 pens and an old coupon, both of which he kept only because they were nostalgic. A tidy space nudges you into a tidy habit loop. Tracking is the single best friend for habit growth. It's visible progress in low-cost dopamine. I had Alex mark a tiny calendar after each reading session, and his pride ballooned at the sight of a streak. People underestimate the thrill of consecutive boxes checked. It's basically human-level Tetris. Celebrate tiny wins, sticky notes, stickers, or a happy dance in the kitchen. Alex tried the dance and briefly regretted his neighbor's visibility, but he kept the sticker. Celebrations reinforce identity. Your brain says, "Ah yes, this person reads and rewards themselves elegantly." We use temptation bundling. Pair something you love with reading. Alex agreed he'd only listen to his favorite, Surprising True Facts podcast while reading nonfiction, so the treat became a cue. This clever pairing transforms indulgence into productivity. It's like candy-coated vitamins for the brain. Commitment devices make future you less traitorous. Schedules, prepaid book clubs, or lending a friend the last slice of pizza until you've read. Alex bought a ticket to a local author talk only accessible if he'd read the book first, which is both clever and slightly theatrical. Commitment devices tilt the game so your future self has fewer choices to sabotage your plans. Accountability partners help, but pick people who nudge, not shame. Alex chose a friend who sent encouraging gifts instead of guilt trips, which improved compliance and reduced passive-aggressive messaging. Kind accountability is like a soft leash, useful, comfortable, and slightly fashionable. Reward should reinforce identity, not contradict it. No, read then binge junk food schemes unless your identity is reader who raids the pantry. Alex picked healthy little treats, a special tea after a chapter and 30 minutes of guilt-free Netflix after finishing a book. Align rewards to goals and the system hums nicely. Use apps for tracking but avoid digital guilt traps like shame notifications. I recommended a minimal tracker that celebrates streaks and offers tiny badges. Alex liked the badges because he has the tasteful maturity of someone who collects novelty pins. Tech should assist, not nag. Plan real, meaningful milestones. Finish a series, host a small book-sharing tea, or donate a book after reading. Alex celebrated finishing his first book with a tiny tea party where he presented his favorite quote dramatically. Milestones create memory anchors for identity reinforcement. Alex expected linear progress. Reality prefers a zigzag dance. I reassured him that plateaus are normal and often mean progress under the surface. We reframe dips as opportunities to refine systems rather than evidence of personal failings. Missing days doesn't mean the identity is gone. It means you're human. Alex panicked at the first missed week, so I gave him 3 tactical steps: restart, reduce, and forgive. He forgave himself using a very dramatic bow that somehow included a tiny violin gesture. When a habit stalls, you tweak the system, change the cue, shorten the dose, or swap the book. Alex swapped a dense nonfiction for a light essay collection and said it felt like upgrading from a heavy boot to a running shoe. Small tweaks keep things interesting and doable. We built a reset ritual, cleaned the reading corner, pick a fresh book, and set a tiny promise for the next day. Alex added a bell ring because he likes sound effects, which I tolerated enthusiastically. A ritual creates a bridge back into the habit loop without drama. Replace guilt with curiosity. What changed? Where's the friction? Alex answered with a list that included new job and neighbors practicing drums at 7 a.m. We found answers and low-friction fixes like moving his reading time 5 minutes earlier, which felt scandalously effective. Forgiveness is strategic. It prevents spirals of shame that kill habits. I taught Alex to treat missteps like experiments rather than indictments. He practiced kind self-talk, and then thanked me by reading a thank you footnote emphasis on foot. To restart momentum, we used 2 tricks: social reading and micro-challenges like read 5 pages in one sitting. Alex liked the challenge because he enjoys contriving small competitions with himself. Micro-challenges give you dopamine and evidence in tidy, satisfying bites. Sometimes the best move is to change the habit switch to audiobooks. For example, if life gets loud. Alex tried audiobooks during commutes and rediscovered the joy of narrative while stuck in traffic, which felt like magic. Adaptability keeps identity alive across seasons of life. We reviewed what worked and cut what didn't. Ruthless minimalism applied to reading habits. Alex kept the rituals that triggered joy and dropped the ones that felt like chores. Simplify until the habit becomes inevitable rather than heroic. Set identity checkpoints. Ask monthly, "Am I a reader?" and review the evidence. Alex now had a jar with 30 slips and a calendar full of checks, proof you can hold. Checkpoints keep the identity active, like oiling a well-loved hinge. Teaching others can cement identity. Share a book with a friend or recommend titles. Alex hosted a tiny book swap and presented his favorites like a proud tour guide of literature. Teaching is a brilliant identity amplifier because to teach is to commit publicly. Once reading is regular, layer in related habits, note-taking, discussing, or writing short reflections. Alex started jotting 1 insight per book and occasionally wrote amusing annotations like, "Good line, would hug." Layering turns a hobby into a practice and a practice into a lifestyle. Celebrate being a reader, not being perfect at reading. Alex stopped counting books and started savoring sentences, which felt like a dramatic upgrade. Identity's the long game. Celebrate the person you are becoming, rather than an arbitrary scoreboard. Design your reading system to be flexible across life changes. Kids, moves, jobs, or weird new hobbies like competitive plant watering. Alex planned a lightweight version he could keep when life got messy, which made him feel more confident. Plan for variability so reading survives the plot twists. Encourage someone else to try the tiny habit method. Teaching spreads habits like niceness at a potluck. Alex recommended the 1-page rule to a coworker and felt oddly noble, which I allowed. Influence is a gentle way to embed identity in social networks. Months later, I found Alex reading on his small balcony. The jar full, the calendar dotted, the 2-minute rule a habit. He smiled, closed the book, and said, "I guess I'm a reader now." I nodded, gave him a mock medal, and watched him go back to the page, contented, habitual, and slightly heroic in his cozy, human way.